RXM Sports. Change the game.
She's there's some big names in the house. Ben Mahoney, how are you?
Mate, pleasure.
Good to see you.
Good, yeah.
I've had the privilege of following your career for the past couple of years, and I think the last time you were here fighting on the Gold Coast was on the Jai Opataya David Nika card. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Successful on that date.
Yeah, it was a tough slug, that one. Coming in pretty unwell. I had a really tough game opponent coming through, so got the 10 rounds under the bank, and I had a closeout, so I won all the rounds. So on paper it looked easy, but it was a tough night.
Well, I tend to agree. I think that in any case, when you look at the scorecards, regardless of how one-sided it is, I think you're the only one that knows how tough it is when you're in there. But talk about your journey, because we had a bit of a mutual connection and a conversation off camera before. You used to train at CMBT, or even before that, trained at Boon Chu. Where has your journey led you to now, from the beginning right up until now? Where are you training now?
Mate, so I'm at Fight Academy now with my coach Josh Arnold. So a few of the boys put their gym together, but they've got boxing, Muay Thai, and they run Fight HQ through the kind of same thing. Amazing gym, amazing setup. That's where I'm boxing specifically now. So that's where we're at. But long time ago, long story short, however I'll put it. But started off doing Muay Thai when I was really young. Like 14, I had my first fight. I trained under Wayne Parr down at Boon Chu Gym. I was there for probably, 10 years, 11 years, something like that. So I ended up having 40 pro Thai fights all up. And then I started coming backwards and forwards between boxing, like just taking short notice fights. They were saying, do you want to get a couple grand for a 4-round fight with boxing? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'd jump in. Zero, I suppose, intensity with it. Took it not seriously. I was just like, I'll jump in. Worst case scenario, if I lose, I'd make some money and I'll go back to kicking kind of thing. First few fights, just knocked out a couple of dudes, beat a couple of undefeated dudes, and then it got to a point where it was kind of around the time Jeff Horn was fighting Pac-Man. Like, Australia was really booming on the map with boxing, and I saw the kind of marketing and the kind of exposure and the kind of money that could be brought to fight sports, and I thought I really want to make my career a job, and I really want to be able to do this for a living and not have to work another job or retire when I'm X age and go into a trade or something like that, So at that time it seemed really appealing to start to cross over, because I made it to the top to a degree in Muay Thai. I fought top 3 in the world at one point, and it just wasn't maintainable for living. And I love the fight sports. I love the fight world, whether it's kickboxing, Muay Thai, karate, combat. It doesn't MMA. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all the same for me. So I started taking boxing a little bit more seriously, and I had the chat with my coach Josh, and we were kind of like, well, what do we want to do? Like, if I want to do both, I can't just kick one day and then box the other day. You got to really commit to one style. And we thought, why not? Let's just make the jump and take it seriously. And throughout that process, we left Boon Chu, and at some times we were training in local bloody high school parks, doing boxing in a varsity high school and stuff like that. And then the boys at Combat, Miles and Cell and all the rest, they've been looking after me for a long time through supplement sponsors. Really, they're like my family. They're amazing people, gold hearts. They'll do anything for their guys, and they allowed me to come into their space, into their gym, and work alongside all those boys. So me and Joshy were there for a little while, just while we're getting back up on our feet, while Josh was in the process of opening up his gym. And in the last coming years, he set that up, and we're starting to move through there.
It's a good point you brought up, because when you talk about the two combat sports, you got Muay Thai, a lot of volume. You can fight almost every weekend if you wanted to, especially if you lived in Thailand. Is there much money in Muay Thai?
No.
I didn't think so.
It depends. Like, when you're looking at the top percentage of any fight sports,
yes,
MMA, big dollars. Muay Thai, when you go to ONE FC and stuff, that wasn't around when I was doing Muay Thai. I didn't have the avenues to be able to go that way, and I'm kind of thankful, because if it was, I probably would still be kickboxing to this day. I wouldn't have felt that push or urge to do something else. But that top, there's money. There's money to be made, but when you're outside of that top, you're just another shit kicker. You're just trying to work your way up. You're trying to do your thing. Obviously, it doesn't compare to the boxing side of things, of course. A lot of sports don't. But as far as Muay Thai goes, man, it deserves so much more. But at the same time, those guys, it's a third world country. They fight to put food on their table and feed their family, and it's a serious thing over there. Whereas over here we fight because, to get away from the hard times or struggle, or like we all have our stories and our battles and stuff, but it's not the same hustle as it is over there. You know, they really fight to put food on their table for their mum who's old and dying. You know, like it's not the same. So when we come over here and we do it at the local RSL and we go, oh, we deserve more money, it's like, well, what do you bring into the sport? What do you? There's no media. There's nothing around it. So it's really hard because I really do love the sport and I would love it to be as big, but I just can't obviously see that happening.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at I tend to think, you know, I've been commentating MMA for almost 10 years now, called rugby games, boxing also. I have never departed from the opinion that Muay Thai, with the elbows and the knees, the kicks and the punches, is the most violent. Now, people may disagree with me, but I will ask you this. When you compare the brutality of Muay Thai to other sports, even though MMA has the 4 ounces, do you tend to share that sentiment that Muay Thai is one of the more brutal ones out of the combat sports?
For sure.
In a certain way?
Yeah, like they've all got their pros and cons and their cruxes, you know. Like when you're looking at Muay Thai, I think Muay Thai is just pure violence. It's on the feet. It's just elbows, knees, kicks, clinching. But again, with the striking side of things, when you look at a Thai fight, you maybe throw, maybe 40, 50 strikes around. You know, some on the leg, some on the stomach, couple knees, couple misses, couple punches. The love spread, when you're looking at boxing, there's between 60 and 100 per round, and it's the stomach and head only. So you got a more acute area to damage, probably more accurate in boxing as well. You know, it's hard to say. Like when you're trying to dodge elbows and you're getting your legs kicked and you can't walk, and your forearms kicked is like one of the worst things in the world. I do not miss that, and there's a lot of aspects that are harder in Muay Thai, but then there's also a lot of aspects in the boxing world that's harder too. You know, you look at MMA. I fought in cage Muay Thai, so I fought in 4-ounce gloves as well. I don't think that, like, you go down when you get hit with those gloves, but when you're looking at 10-ounce, you've got thumb padding, you've got wrist padding, you've got laces, you've got so much more on the glove.
Yes.
It's done by weight. Are they that much smaller than 4-ounce? When you spread out,
when you weigh it,
yeah, it's probably not. You know, like obviously the MMA gloves, they're fingerless, and you know, you get hit. I've been in the ring with them. You get flashed a lot, but you know, I've been hurt much more outside of those. But yeah, look, they've all got their poisons. But yeah, I'm happy to stay away from getting my legs kicked and my forearms kicked these days.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. That was one of the reasons I left my Muay Thai class and went straight to amateur boxing, because I couldn't handle those calf kicks all those years ago. When you made the transition from Muay Thai to boxing, did you notice that, or if you did notice, were you far behind in terms of technical striking when it come to the hands? Is there a big gap between boxing and Muay Thai and, I guess, professional boxing?
Yeah, for sure. That's why a lot of you see, like, you know, boxing is about building your record when you first start. It's not like a dig. It's just the way it works. You look at any professional fighter, world champions, the first 25 guys they fought are spuds. It just happens like that, you know. They got to build their name and practice their craft on guys that they can, whether it's stopping them or refining things, whatever. You know, I come from the Thai boxing world. I went pro when I was 16. I was throwing elbows when I was 16 years old. So fighting experience, I'm all over these guys. I'm not even remotely close. I've been in bloodbath wars since I was 16. You can't compare that. My fighting ability when I first came over, I was sweet. I had no fear. I had no worries about losing. I've lost fights. I've lost 8 fights in Thai boxing in my life. I don't have a fear of losing or taking a backward step. I just want to fight and progress and do my thing. So there's a lot of elements that came from Thai boxing over that have just not made me stress too much in the boxing world. I feel good about coming in. It's not like I've got this big zero loss thing. But then when you're looking at the ability and the refining of boxing, when I first started, I was fighting guys that if I box, I wouldn't have beat. But I fought them and I won, if that makes sense.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
There was a point where I was started to spar higher level dudes, and then, you know, I was getting hit a lot. I was landing shots, but then the same shots wouldn't land, and I'd be getting pieced up a lot. And then, you know, you do 10 rounds. You start to see missing pieces, and then me and my coach Josh, we did a lot of refining when I first started, because I got through my first 6 fights just winging it, just throwing overhands, hoping they'd go down. Yeah. But there was a point where there was a big jump in skill and ability, so it took a lot of refining. It probably took maybe 3 years for me to start to really get my head moving, to start to get like the catching, the rolling with the punches, to start to develop that actual boxing style. It took a long time, and it was really hard. It's a big jump. It's not as easy as people think. You know, like I said before with the cherry picking fights. That's why a lot of Thai boxers get picked up.
Yeah.
They go, this guy's had 4 or 5 fights. He's tough. He can come in and he can throw a punch. They come in, they get 2 or 3 rounds for their guy, and then they get stopped. You know, I was originally supposed to be that guy. You know,
they wanted you to come in and be a journeyman.
My first fight I took on a week notice. My second fight I took on a week notice. My third fight I took on a week notice. Like I probably had 5 weeks camp in my first 5 fights. You know what I mean? So and I wasn't boxing. I was kicking at that point. So it was when we decided to make that jump. I was like, I can't keep taking the piss here, because boxing does matter if you lose. Like, as much as we all say it doesn't, it does take a dent in your career. It does take a toll. And then so I was like, all right, well, we got to start to really make sure I can box before we jump up to that next level and I start fighting higher competition. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete with guys unless I know those strong basics, you know.
It is a sweet science, and I think you see the difference in levels, I guess, like you were saying, at that very top 1%, with probably the exception of the heavyweights, because those fights, and even in some cases at cruiserweight, those fights can turn into, well, those matches can turn into just brawls and fights as well. But if you look at the lighter weight classes, like obviously where you're competing, that technique and that skill plays a major role in the outcome. And I like what you said there, where you can transition some of the skills from Muay Thai, but there comes a point where you do need to knuckle down and focus on, okay, I need to improve here. I know obviously in Muay Thai you don't want to be dipping to the left and dipping to the right straight into a head kick, but
Yes.
I can certainly comprehend the point when you say there is a certain point where you have to adjust and improve if you want to start taking higher level fights. So grateful that you were able to share that. Coming up to June the 8th, how does it feel to be fighting back home here on the Gold Coast?
It's massive. It's really, really good. Again, I'm grateful for Tasman for being able to put me on and promote me and do what they're doing. They're putting on massive cards. They're bringing the best fights to the Gold Coast. Gold Coast is my home. It's my my favourite spot ever. Like, I've had 3 fights there. I've fought for 3 belts there. I've won 3 belts there. This will be the 4th. So, like, every time I go there, the crowd's amazing. All my family and friends can actually attend live, which is really cool. And to, you know, back it up from that last one in January, 2 in a row, it's sick. And, you know, I've got a good, tough opponent in front of me. I've got a big belt on the line that'll put me and establish me in that top 15 in the world, that will really say he's one of the top guys. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get in there and do my thing.
We had a chat about this just before we started, but Eddie Colmenares, I think is how you say his name, 9-2, you're 15-0. Have you done much study about on your opponent, and what can we expect from him come fight night?
Yeah, like I do enough that I need to do. You know, we watch their fights, we see all the cues, what they do wrong, what they do right. I try to focus a lot on what I'm doing and what I'm going to bring to the table. You focus too much on what they're doing and you don't pull your trigger. But yeah, he's tough. He's big. He's strong. He's got a big knockout. He's had 9 wins, the 2 lost and the 1 draw. The 9 fights he's won, he's knocked them all out. So he's a big puncher. He's tall. Because of the opponent change, the other guy was southpaw, so I was doing a lot of southpaw sparring. We've now swapped back to orthodox because this guy's a righty. So it's been a bit of an adjustment, but again, it's not too much of a stress. He's just long, he's tough, he throws hard, he's not one to shy away from a war as well, and neither am I. So come fight night, obviously I'm not going to spill the beans, but if he wants to fight, I'll have an answer. If he wants to box, I'll have an answer. I'll be fit, I'll be healthy. And, yeah, I'll be ready to put a good show on.
You know, and we'll all be there with you, obviously cheering you on at the convention centre. Mayor Tom Tate, he said he wanted to turn the Gold Coast into almost like the Las Vegas of Australia, and we're starting to see that. Spoke to Jai Patai about it this morning. The injection of, I guess, funds and money into boxing, professional boxing, recently in this part of the world, has made a massive impact in bringing, I guess, local talent up from where we are. You're part of that next wave that's coming through. How have you seen the landscape of boxing shift? Obviously, I know you've only boxed for a few years now, growing up in Muay Thai, but it wasn't like this, like you said, when Jeff Horn was fighting Manny Pacquiao. That was the start of it. Yep. Now, you know, you fast forward 10, 12 years onwards, we're right in the thick of it now. Where do you see this heading?
as far as it can go, really. Like, you look at the world, I think obviously the social media side of things has brought so much attention to fight sports. It's made fighters superstars, whether it's boxing, MMA, Muay Thai. There's guys, 10 years ago you couldn't name me a Muay Thai fighter. Now there's guys like Rod Tang that are household names. Like, there's so many guys that are getting massive publicity. Some are not even that good, and some are amazing. Some are world champions, some are contenders. Like, across the board, I think fight sports in general has been it's had a massive boom in the last few years. And it's good because it's getting appreciated as it should, because it's one of the best things ever. With boxing, I think we've had so many world champions in the last couple of years, coming from Jeff, who beat Pac-Man, which is crazy. We've had such a stable of world champions, from Liam Paro to Kambosos to Sky Nicholson, Tim Tszyu, Joel Patel. We've got such a surge of amazing talent here. And I can't see it slowing down. Everyone's just trying to stick up to that level. Everyone's seen that benchmark and they go, well, we know where we need to be to get there. We've got a lot of good, not mentors, but good inspirations like those guys here to work off. And the blueprint that was never really there is there now for us to be able to train our asses off and get over there and beat the big guys.
And I like what you said, especially in this world of, I guess, exposure. Social media wasn't like this 10, 15 years ago. And when you look at the incorporation of, various other promotions, but more so focusing on the growth of Tasman fighters and the platform they've been able to give guys like yourself, Justice, Jai, and then for you guys to be able to run with that, it certainly helps the cause for, more participation, not just here on the GC, but throughout Australia and New Zealand. Because I remember there was a point there where MMA was starting to take over. More people were interested, I guess, in jiu-jitsu, in the UFC, whereas now I'm starting to see the shift kind of swing back to boxing becoming a premier sport and again, a mainstream sport here in Australia. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's massive. Like, everything comes in surges, right? But I feel like the talent here, the amount of high-class fighters that we have constantly rolling through, you can't not look at it. You know what I mean? There's so many big shows. You got Jai Opataya fighting on the Gold Coast. You got Connor Wallace. You got myself. You got Justice Hooney's fighting away the morning of. You got all these amazing fighters just doing their thing. And it's massive. I can't see it taking a back step. I can just see more people winning world titles, more people climbing that ladder, and obviously if Gold Coast can become that hub for boxing, as they were saying about the Vegas kind of thing, all the better, because this is my home.
Yeah. Well, forget Tom Tate, you'll be the mayor in no time, I guess.
Don't put me in charge of anything.
I'll trust you. Obviously, heading into June 8th, you're well prepared, obviously, when it comes to what you need to do inside the ring. Outside of the ring, you're a family man, obviously. Married. Any children?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? No news to spill?
No, not
Not
yet.
yet.
Working on it.
Not yet. How much of an impact does, I guess, your family, your wife, friends, how much of an influence do they play in terms of your preparation and execution come fight night?
When I started this, when I was young, it was a catalyst for me to be a better person, for me to become, something from nothing. As every kid does, they have their troubles growing up and they go through their stuff, subjective to themselves, I guess. But fighting gave me a place to go every day, to calm my mind, to better myself, to fight better than I fought last, to make a little bit of pocket money. Whatever it is, it helped me to be a better person. And my whole life it's been like that. And that's why I've stuck so strongly to it. But obviously now with my partner, with my wife Emily, she's been such a rock for me. The last 5-6 years since we've been together, especially the recent fights that have had some hard times going into those fights, seriously couldn't have done it without her. And I feel like it's not just for me now, it's for her as well, it's for our future children. So that's a big play for me. As far as my fan base goes and my supporters, every time I walk out and I hear the crowd, it still rattles me every time, because I know I have a fan base. I know I have a lot of friends. I'm really connected on the Gold Coast, especially. But to walk out and you hear your music and you hear the roars, and when your hand gets raised, you hear the claps. It's a really nice pat on the back to say, I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. I'm going in the right direction, I'm taking the right steps, and you become very appreciative when you hear it. So my fan base, we call it the Mahoney Army, like I'm very, very grateful for them, my wife, my family. I'm very fortunate to have such a good network these days that just wraps me up when I need.
I would very much like to enlist in the Mahoney Army. I will put forth my application prior to June the 8th. I like what you said there, and I think, as men, we can kind of relate to this. You look at I guess as teenagers, you look at the lifestyle of a fighter and you think, man, if I can become the world champ, or even if it's a national champ, I'll have everything, the money and everything that comes with it. We don't need to go into detail there. But as I'm sure you've found, and as life progresses, you do cherish and value those close relationships, none more so than that with your spouse and your close friends and family. So it's a pretty special aspect to have in your life. And, I can obviously share that sentiment from a family standpoint, not necessarily as a fighter. But in terms of you saying you've got a big fan base here, I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. I mean, you're from the Gold Coast, grew up on the Gold Coast, fighting on the Gold Coast. It's going to be no different in a couple of weeks, mate. It'll probably be twice as loud when they see this episode. We'll be showing out in numbers.
Yeah, mate, it's just I'm not surprised. I've never thought that I couldn't do it or I couldn't do what I'm doing. It's from day one. It was going to happen, right? I'm not even near done in where I need to be, but I will be there. You know what I mean? And it's just to get that little bit of it's like focus on where you're going, but appreciate where you are, kind of thing, And then sometimes it's just a bit of a reminder of, this is pretty cool, kind of thing, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. Being present in the moment, obviously, you don't want to lose. I know, obviously, the focus is the fight, but I can imagine when you're walking out, like you said, and you hear your entrance music and the crowd, being present must feel pretty good. When you talk about the future, obviously we don't want to look past your next opponent, but you said that this fight will break you into that next plateau of the top 15. Is the game plan to become undisputed world champion at this point in your career? Or is it one fight at a time? Or do you have an end goal?
My end goal has always been the same. It has been, when I started fighting in general, it was to be a professional fighter. And then once I was a professional fighter, it was like, I want to make this a living. I don't want to just be a pro fighter and do something else. I want this to be my job. I'm doing that. And now it's like I want to win a world title, and then I cross sports. Now I want to win a world title in this sport. Now for me, there's a lot of things. World title is the top of the banner. We know this. Whatever sanction, win a world title, that's the goal, right? Always. But what comes with that is the stability to be able to open up my own gym, to be able to support me and my family and make sure no one in my family has to struggle, ever, like I ever did. I just want to be able to give financial stability. I want to have, future financial stability for my family and my kids. I want to be able to support my loved ones. I want to be able to give back to my loved ones, and I want a title. And that's all I care about. If I can come in, make that money, win that title, what else could you want? I could go and get a safe job. I could go and be a plumber. I did my plumbing apprenticeship. I only had 6 months to go before the member had done it. But I could go and do that, and then start up a company and work. And I don't want to do that. I want to fight, and that's my passion. And now I'm here. It's like, well, where can I capitalize on this to make sure my family can put their feet up? And that's, for me, the most special thing. And to have that belt around my waist at the end of this is obviously going to be the cherry on top. And this fight, it puts me in that top 15. And there's some big names in that top 15, especially in the IBF. You got guys like Fundora, you got Xander Zayas, you got Tim Tszyu, you got Josh Kelly. You got so many names in there. I don't care who, I don't care when, I don't care where, but to be in that, it's unarguable. You're one of those guys. You're one of the top dogs, and you get to fight those guys. So I'm just excited to get in. Every fight I ever have, I put my balls on the line. I put all my heart and soul into the fight, and I give the best I can to get the outcome that I get. And that's what I'll do on June 8th. So that's all I can say about that, really.
No, well, thank you for sharing. And I think what I gather from your response is that the outcome is one thing, the journey is another. And when you combine the two, I think when I look at you and having followed your career for the last few years now, you've almost had two journeys, one in Muay Thai, one in boxing, but then you mesh them into one, and it becomes essentially your life that you are sharing, not just with your family, but with us as fans as well. So I can honestly say that we're very grateful for that. June the 8th is just around the corner. We look forward to seeing you in the ring. Last predictions as to how this one goes down?
Just me with my hand raised. If the knockout's there, I'll take it. But if the points need to be points, the points will be points. So as long as I get my hand raised, that's what we're looking for. Well,
however it gets done, sir, I look forward to hearing your name called and your hand raised at the end of the night. Thank you, Ben.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Appreciate you.